We all probably have at least one person in our family's history who has served or is serving in the military. For me, it's my son. He's in the Army, and he'll actually be stationed in South Korea soon. What about you, Charlene? Anyone you want to pay tribute to?
Oh, most definitely. My dad was in the Army in World War II. And today, we're looking back at some of Ohio's military history, starting with Camp Sherman. It was a training camp for soldiers during World War I.
Although the camp no longer exists, it had a major impact on Chillicothe and was an important part of the city's growth. Here's more on that history.
I think it's fair to say that Central Ohio responded rather enthusiastically to the entry into World War I. This is not hard to understand because we really, with the exception of the very brief Spanish-American War, we really hadn't been in a major war since the Civil War.
They needed huge training camps to be able to essentially process the recruits they were getting, not only from volunteerism, but through the draft. Camp Sherman, located near Chillicothe, served as sort of a hub to send these men to so they could be trained and then sent overseas.
Camp Sherman was built in approximately 3 months. It was designed originally for 45,000 people, plus 12,000 animals. The main camp area was over 2,000 acres. There was the maneuver grounds, which was also a little over 2,000 acres. The rifle range was about 6,000 acres, and then there was another large area which was south of here.
And they built between 1,000 and 2,000 buildings on the site, and then they had the ancillary buildings that were necessary for the support of the camp. The laundry, they had the base hospital.
It had the Camp Sherman Library. There were 11 YMCAs. There was a YWCA. This is one of 6 camps who had black soldiers. And the YMCA, for reasons at the time, could not handle the area of the black soldiers, so the YWCA stepped up and they built the hostess house out there.
The British and the French had been in the trenches fighting trench warfare for 3 years before we ever got into the war. And we didn't have the military personnel to teach them how to fight this kind of war. So they brought over French and British officers to train the men that were here.
The war in Europe is going on where both sides have a number of new weapons. We have the machine gun, and so we had to learn how to deal with that when they're firing over the trenches. We had poison gas. There were 2 kinds of poison gas that was introduced over there. We had the airplane, which during the course of the war turned into not just fighter planes, but bombers. The tank. So they had to learn new tactics.
The men were encouraged to be a part of the community, and the community was encouraged to make the men welcome here. The families were encouraged to visit their soldiers at the camp so that we would have 10 to 15,000 people in town looking for a hotel room, and they were bringing with them 10,000 automobiles. And this also caused traffic problems. There were not enough hotel rooms. They went to the people in the community, would you please put up some of these people for the night? But they did sometimes run out of space, so you might find people sleeping in railroad cars on the sidelines. They might be in the city parks, on the courthouse steps. They were bedding down just about wherever they could.
The influenza was a worldwide epidemic. Neither side of those in the conflict wanted to report how many people had it or died from it. Spain was a neutral country at that time, so they reported all of their deaths and illnesses. So it kind of got the nickname the Spanish flu. Here in Camp Sherman, there were 1,177 military who died here.
Camp Sherman had the largest incident of death from the flu from any of the other military camps. Percentage-wise, Chillicothe had one of the lowest because the city fathers immediately took precautions. Camp Sherman was quarantined, and the city itself began also quarantining part of the town.
They had so many dying so fast that they were loading them in wagons and trucks and transporting them downtown. The military had to be brought in to help do this because the local funeral homes were just overwhelmed.
The Majestic Theater was used as a sort of makeshift morgue where the bodies could be prepared and drained before they were sent back to their hometowns.
One of the interesting things about Camp Sherman was the black soldiers were isolated. They were actually what they called black divisions. They didn't get the flu. There were also conscientious objectors who were here. They were isolated. They didn't get the flu. So it was the main part of the base who actually ended up with the flu and who passed away.
The end of World War I is very famous. It's the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. In November of 1918, the armistice was signed so peace talks could begin.
It took 6 months to get the Treaty of Versailles to officially declare that the war was over. At that point, they could confidently process the men out and start sending them home.
Most of the men that were in training at the camp were leaving by the end of 1918. Camp Sherman was then made a demobilization camp.
A number of the buildings were used after that, and then of course they cleared the land. Camp Sherman was dismantled. New highways were built through some of the property. There is the Camp Sherman Park out there.
It was here such a short time and then it was gone. So people tend not to remember that it was ever there until we have a centennial. And it was such a big success that people are now recognizing the fact that Camp Sherman was there and was a major part of our history.
Not everyone who joins the military goes into battle. Every branch of the military has supporting roles that are essential.
That's right, and recently the Ohio History Connection received a donation from a local woman who served in one of these supporting roles as a Marine.
And I am always so impressed with women who are Marines.
We head over there now to look at the collection, which gives us a glimpse of what her training and service looked like.
Ohio History Connection has a lot of collections in storage in order to preserve them. A lot of times they're not open to the public, but today they're opening up their vault to us to show us one of their collections. I'm looking forward to seeing what it is. Ben, thank you so much for showing me this collection. It looks like it's military. Can you tell me what we're looking at here?
Yes, this is a collection that was donated by a woman named Mary Garrison. She's from the Columbus area. She served in the Marines from 1975 to about 1979. So these are all items that she wore or used while she was in the Marines.
Well, and being a female in the Marines in the 1970s is unique in itself. Is that one of the reasons you gathered this collection?
Yes, exactly. We have a lot of uniform collections from World War I and World War II, but we don't have that many from more late 20th century conflicts, and certainly not a lot of collections of women who served in the military. This is our only collection that I'm aware of that is a female who served in the Marines.
Can you just explain some of the items that we see here?
Sure, yeah. This is examples of some of the uniforms that she would have been issued when she was a member of the Marines. This is part of a utility uniform. That's a basic uniform you'd get when you first went into basic training. She did go to Parris Island, South Carolina, and get trained just like every other Marine did at that time and still does today. So those are very basic, we call them utility pants. Very similar to the kind that the men wore at that time. I think they're probably exactly the same. They didn't make special uniforms for training for women. Later on, when she became a sergeant, she'd be issued uniforms. These are some skirts from that time. So actually in the picture, she's wearing her summer uniform, and that would be a skirt from that. And these blue slacks here are also when she was in the Marines.
So I see some jackets here. Are these hers as well?
Yes, all the uniforms you see here, all the shirts, all the jackets, all belong to Sergeant Garrison. You can see the sergeant insignia patch there on the shoulders. This one here I can grab on the end.
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
This is called a dress blue uniform. This is the jacket. You can see the different Insignias, that's the United States Marine Corps insignia right there, the eagle with the globe and the anchor, and again the patch on the side there.
It's a
the
really
3 bars.
beautiful uniform. Now, if she didn't tell you the story behind that, are there things on this uniform that would tell you when it was and
Yeah, you can definitely tell it's the Marines. The Marines always wear this for dress. They always have this navy blue, and they have the red piping, and the buttons have the Marines insignia on there as well.
So these would be other sort of uniforms she would wear at different times, or maybe when she changed ranks?
Yeah, these are all from when she was a sergeant. Some of the very front here, those are more another utility shirt, so you can see kind of a basic green. This is actually a coat that she was given probably when she first started as a Marine, maybe in basic training.
And what about this bag here?
Sure, this is just a typical garment bag that she was issued, and it's got the USMC logo on the front there.
So she actually donated these items, right?
Yes, correct. A couple years ago, she donated these items to us, so it's kind of a new collection to us.
And did she give you stories behind any of these?
Yeah, when it was donated, people interviewed her and got information about her service.
So she donated other items that aren't on this table that I see in that box. Can you show me a few of them?
Yes, we have some more items here in the box. I'll pull this one out here first. This is a hat box, which has a hat inside.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
oh my
this
goodness.
is, again, a formal dress blue cap that she would wear with the jacket that I mentioned before.
I think it's interesting. The military always looks very well kept. They really are about their appearance and how they look, aren't they?
Yes, and that was actually part of her training, was learning how to keep track of her uniform, keep it nice and clean, how to wear it. All of that goes into her training as a Marine.
I think most of us need more training on
Right.
that anyways. Well, that's amazing. Do you have something else?
Yeah. These are actually her combat boots. Now, she did not serve in combat while she was in the Marines. She served basically during peacetime. But these are the boots that she was given. She would have worn these during basic training.
So, quickly, what was happening during the time that she served? What sort of conflicts were going on around in the world?
Sure, yeah. When she was a senior in high school, the Vietnam War was still going on. It ended in 1975, kind of right when she was going into the Marine Corps. So she basically served during peacetime.
So she, though, still had to be sort of ready to go into action if something did happen, or was
Yeah.
she not trained for that?
Possibly. She went through basic training, so she learned how to fire a weapon and anything that any other Marine would go through. After she completed that, she went into what they call MOS training, Military Operation Services. And that's when there's hundreds of different things you can go into, administration, intelligence, things like that, and that's what she went into. Also have, similar to the combat boots, but kind of the opposite. These are the dress shoes that she would have been given. So she would wear these for formal occasions, but sometimes they would wear these also just on a day-to-day basis. This style here was very popular in the 1970s.
Now, were these issued, like they issued these types of shoes, or did they just sort of give you parameters for the types of shoes you had to get?
No, these actually were issued. These
Okay.
would have been given to her with her uniform, that she had to wear these shoes.
Did you have something else?
Yes, actually, it goes along with the shoes. This black purse, you would actually be issued a purse as a female member of the Marines.
So same thing.
Same
These are your
thing.
shoes.
Yep.
That's your purse.
Right, and again, this is very 1970s. They did change this later on. If you see a picture of a female Marine from that time period, she always has this black purse and those black shoes.
That's definitely a sign of the times too, because
Right.
women don't wear purses as much
Not as
anymore.
much, right?
but
Back then, they had to issue them a purse.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Also have some medals that she was awarded. You can see this. This first one here is called the Navy Achievement Medal.
And how would she have received that?
This is one of the highest honors you can get serving in a non-combative role in the Marines. So for distinguished service, they would give you a medal like this.
Okay, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Do they put those on their uniforms, or do they tend to keep them in the boxes?
You usually wear them on your uniform, or you wear the ribbon bar up here that represents that medal. And there's one more medal
All right.
that she received I can show you. This is the Good Conduct Medal. I don't know if you can see it here in the box.
So what's the emblem on it? What are we seeing?
This is a typical Marines emblem. This one's unique because you receive this one after you've served for 3 years with distinction.
That's amazing. So is that everything?
I think I got a couple more things.
Ooh, I want to see more. This is really interesting. It's like Christmas.
Oh, here's a cap. This is also when she was probably first in training, so a basic cap. lot less formal than the formal cap, of course.
They had to think of all the different circumstances they'd wear these things.
Exactly. And a couple more formal items for the uniform. Marines are always dressed very well. These are white gloves that she was issued that she would wear again with her formal uniform.
Do they wear gloves still today?
Yeah, most Marines,
okay.
if you see Marines and they're dress blues, they've got the white gloves on, men and women. And then to match that, there's a white scarf as well that she would wear, again, for formal occasions.
How do you store them?
Sure. Yeah, when this was donated, we go through and catalog everything. So go through each item, photograph it, give it an accession number. And then for textiles, we usually wrap them in some kind of plastic or foam and store them mostly in boxes.
And does the public ever get to see collections like this?
Not often. If they're put on exhibit, then they would get to see them, but a very small fraction of our collections are actually on exhibit at the History Center. But maybe eventually these will be put on exhibit.
So this represents sort of one type of the military period of time. What types of things are you looking for as far as items to fill in sort of your collection?
We have a lot of military uniforms, like I mentioned, a lot from World War I and World War II, and some Civil War as well, and other 19th century wars. But we don't tend to have as many things from kind of the late 20th century and even into the 21st century. So we're always looking for more items that are more recent history of people from Ohio that have served in the military.
So I think it's really unique that she gave you these items when she was still living. Is that important for you that, people think about donating their items while they're still alive instead of sort of waiting?
Yes, that's very important. We get a lot of donations from people who their grandfather passed away and they have his collections, but we don't know what they all are, so it's hard sometimes to identify things. So yes, if you're still living, of course you can tell us the stories behind all of these objects.
And the story is really important to be connected to the items, right?
Yes, of course.
Are there certain items that if you don't take them, what are some other ways people can think about preserving these? Other organizations or people who will take these types of things?
Yes, we love that people contact us and reach out to us, so we encourage people to do that. If for some reason we can't take a collection because we have similar items already in our collection, you can always reach out to a local historical society, sometimes a library if you have photo images, things like that. They're interested in that as well. There's the Veterans Museum here in Columbus, and sometimes they'll accept items as well.
This has been a great opportunity to see some of the collections that you have that the audience doesn't necessarily get to see. So thank you so much for inviting us to look at it.
Yes, thank you.
Besides looking at photos, it's hard to imagine what the Civil War looked like. It was pre-film, pre-internet, and pre-social media.
Now, we may not have video, but we do have people who are fascinated with that history and take part in Civil War reenactments, like battles, encampments, and other related events. Often, these experiences are open to the public.
And we had a chance to visit with one of these reenactors to learn more about this popular pastime.
In reenacting, we focus on the everyday people and the fact they're going through this momentous time and how did they do that. We get asked a lot, how do you make all this happen? How do you guys out there, you maneuver, you do all these things. How do you make that happen? It's a lot to orchestrate. And the simple answer is we replicate the command structure and we follow the same training manuals that they did during the Civil War. There's no better way to portray what they did than to use the tools they had. So we do that. Reenactors are not just reenactors on the weekends when you see them doing what they're doing. They're reenactors every day, doing research on both the history of the Civil War itself and what we call the material culture, in discovering every detail you can about the clothing and equipment and how people live their lives, which has actually proved very beneficial to anthropologists who are seeing this time period recreated with exactly what people had at the time. So it's an invaluable lesson on how life was lived. One of the things that reenactors pride themselves in is working very, very hard at preserving history in its physical form. And that means historic buildings, artifacts, battle flags are a very important part of it, and battlefield acreage itself. You know, why would you spend all the money it takes to uniform and equip yourself and to travel all over the country, to sleep on the ground at night, to, you know, run around in hot wool and, you know, in the summer and all these things? And the answer is because you're doing it for something more than yourself. For the overwhelming majority of reenactors that I met every 20 years, they simply felt that it was so vitally important that our nation not forget what went on. And when we talk about that, what went on during the Civil War, what we're talking about fundamentally is this is an example of what can happen to us as a people if we cannot come together and figure out our problems and solve our disagreements. That's the overwhelming theme for reenactors. Look at what happened. This is something we don't ever want to happen again. And so it's very, very important that we preserve that story. We bring it to life for people. People today live in complex worlds. 150 years ago, it was no different.
I'm so excited to tell you about this one. This is a panorama that we have of an all-black, all-woman squadron. It is Squadron W of the 318th Army Air Forces Base Unit. When they were located at Lockbourne Army Air Base in Columbus, Ohio, and this photo was taken in June of 1947. These women were a part of the Women's Army Corps, or also known as WACS. They would have been stationed at Lockbourne Army Air Base when the Tuskegee Airmen were there. So most people knew that the Tuskegee Airmen were stationed at Lockbourne after World War II, but a lot of people don't realize how many women units were actually here and helping with the Tuskegee Airmen and Lockbourne as well. So it's amazing to have this fantastic photo of all of these amazing black women and their role that they played in the history of the armed forces. The WACS are the Women Army Air Corps, and they were a part of the military when the military was still segregated. These women held so many important positions at the base. They were radio operators, they packed parachutes, they were medical and x-ray technicians, they were hospital attendants. And we believe we actually know who two of the women are in the photograph. Over here on the left, we have First Lieutenant Oletta Crane. And then on the right here seated, we also have Verdia May Hickenbottom, who was also a first lieutenant as well. These women were not eligible to be a part of the Women's Air Service Pilots, or the WASPs, but they were eligible to be part of the Women Air Corps, and so that is how they were able to contribute to the military.
One of the more interesting pastimes is the idea of the living photo. If you have a photograph of a person, or even in some cases of a scene, and you can put 1,000 people in one place at the same time, you try to reproduce the photograph based on the presence of those people.
Arthur Mole was known for doing these unusual photographs. He would get large groups of people together and he would put different shirts and stuff on them, and he shot in black and white, so he had to have different shades of gray in order to do this.
A classic example of that takes place at Camp Sherman during World War I, because there's a lot of people down at Camp Sherman, where they form a picture of Woodrow Wilson, the president.
He had a 75-foot tower that he would be up there with his camera, and then he would use a megaphone to shout instructions to his choreographer. They would work for a couple of days using chalk to lay out the figure and what colors would go where. And then they got the boys to come out and they'd put them in t-shirts if it was necessary. Some of them came out in their long underwear. A funny story came in, this lady came in, she said, my uncle said he was not going to be wearing his long underwear out there for that picture, so they put him over under Wilson's ear, which is where he was photographed at the time. It took 21,000 men and officers to make up that picture. The group up above Wilson's part in his hair, there were over 8,000 men just doing the top of his head. It was quite a complicated affair, but it turned out rather well, and President Wilson autographed the photo when it was done.
Thanks for being with us, and remember, you can catch all of our episodes on YouTube or columbusneighborhoods.org.
Plus, see our stories on the WOSU mobile app, and you can follow us on social media. We'll see you back here next week on Columbus Neighborhoods.
Stumbling lunatic in the cold and rain approaches me and he asks for change. His face is slouchy